Masculine energy is the initiator, and it is the, so it's initiating action, whereas feminine energy is more about receiving action and responding to that action, which is what you see when you dance, right? So you let the man lead, particularly in ballroom, and then still stop and don't jump in and try to fix his moves or try to fix things or try to get you guys back on track. You wait for him to get you back on track, right?
Exactly.
It's such a beautiful exercise for you to physically understand how to do that, because you can then later apply that to your life, right? You can, so if you think about it as a woman, where in your life can you relinquish a little bit of that control, relinquish a little bit of that leading and allow someone else to lead? It doesn't have to be a man. It could be your kid, it could be whatever. Where can you allow someone to do that? And it's not so that you're giving anything up. It's so that you're learning how to receive. You're learning how to receive someone else taking care of something, right? Because that will allow you to allow someone else to take care of you too. Welcome to the Womanhood Lectures, where we bring you topics on issues that matter to you, the modern day woman. I'm Yasmin.
And I'm Lyra. Please like and subscribe. We are on YouTube, we are on Rumble, as well as Spotify.
So today, we had a really great conversation earlier, so I think it makes for us to talk about it on the show today. I wanted to talk about how do we as women drop more into our feminine energy? And I know we've sort of touched on this in some of the other shows, but I really wanted to deep dive into it a little bit more today.
Okay.
So I wanted to find out from you, what brought this up for you?
What brought it up for me is I actually had a little bit of a getaway. I know that most women, when they have, you know, either a weekend away with their girlfriends or they have a week apart from their family, they kind of do it so that they get some feminine time, right? Mm-hmm. I was with a really good friend that I've known over 20 years, and I had kind of tapped into something within me that was like, it was releasing, like I was releasing something, and I was trying to figure out what it was. I was trying to analyze it a little bit more. And what was brought up to me by my girlfriend was that, you know, sometimes when we're constantly in go, go, go mode, whether it be for work, our career, our kids, who absolutely drive us crazy, our husbands, so our relationships, you know, we're constantly go, go, go. And all of a sudden it's like, you don't have that for 4 or 5 days. And you're like, what's happening? Right? What's wrong with me?
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a release for me. I felt a lot more calm, a lot of anxiety just kind of diminished. And I don't know. I mean, I kind of sat there thinking, oh my gosh, this is my life. Like, my life is constantly go, go, go.
Yeah.
So I kind of dropped that feeling, and I was, you know, going for walks. I was eating power bowls. I was having, you know, I was still doing my fitness challenge. So I was still working out. So I was probably still aggressively still, you know, inundating my body. But for whatever reason, I felt relief. Like, my body just felt relief.
Yeah.
So it told me that it's probably time for me to, like, leave my kids and family behind.
Time to go live on an island all by yourself, so that you can be happy for the rest of your life.
An island, a remote island.
Oh, no.
But yes, I can see how much we are constantly inundated. But in our life, like, how do you just go back to, you know what, I don't want to be this alpha, hardworking, always go, 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 go mindset. And how is that affecting me physically? How is that affecting my femininity? How am I showing up in my relationship? And there's just been this battle between men and women, right? Like, showing up to be more masculine and showing up to be more feminine. But like, how do you tap into your feminine when you're constantly having to save the day? When you're constantly having to grind and hustle and work and, you know, next thing.
Yeah.
So those days away, you know, I love my children and I love my family. I really enjoyed that time to myself to read and to digest a lot of the things that I was, you know, experiencing. And it reminded me that we need that.
Yep.
number one. Number two, we need women around, you know. And number three, we really have to figure this, you know, feminine masculine thing out, because there's an experience happening. And I think we're going to start seeing that in our next generation as well, where there might be conflict between men and women. And how do you sort that out? And how do you tap into your female?
Yeah. I'm just curious to know, what did you notice about yourself during that time that you were there, other than, okay, so you got some time to relax? Did anything kind of like, did you have any epiphanies? Were you kind of like, oh, wait a second, I don't know, something about how you live your life? Or, you know, was there anything that came through that you were like, I think I want to change this, or I think I want to be able to tap into this more?
I think I want to feel more feminine, for sure. Which I started doing, you know, and this is kind of like a vulnerable moment right now, but I started doing the 75 hard. And then I actually started to dance, right?
Yeah.
Now, salsa dancing or partner dancing, I think is very intimate, right?
It is, yes.
And it's one of those things my husband does not want to do with me. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go dance with other people, but I'm doing it anyway. But what I realized is when you're dancing, and you're the female, you're relying on the male to lead you. Yeah. So you're kind of relinquishing yourself to him to say, guide me, lead me, and I will follow. Yeah. So it's the most masculine thing that a man can do is dance with the woman and lead her. Yep. So it's kind of like one thing that we do in class, and I've never taken any classes for ballroom. I am self-taught. So as a kid, I started it, and then I was around a lot of family that did it. And then, I would just, you know, hit the club scene and socially dance. So I picked up a lot of the moves. So as I'm doing the class now, it's very formal. It's very 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm like, okay.
That might actually drive me crazy, because I'm like you. I'm sort of self-taught, and I just would go out to clubs.
You know, so it's like, you know, we were just doing the counts and the turns, and I'm like, okay, I'm going with the flow. But one thing that is so important that was messaged to me was, if you're with a partner and he's leading you and you're confused, or you don't know what the next step is going to be, or you're offbeat, just stop.
Just stop dancing altogether.
Stop dancing.
And then
let him figure it out. Let him guide you to the basic step again. And then start again to turn you and to do the dancing again.
I love that.
So it's kind of like you're relinquishing the control over to him and saying, lead me.
Yep.
Why don't we do that in reality?
There's so much to unpack there. Okay, so I love that you noticed that. It's a great analogy,
but you know, it's a tough one, because
it is.
I think we have become our alpha. We've been in our alpha more so in our relationships, but it's kind of a catch-22, because if we weren't, we wouldn't get anything done, and we're in a certain career that forces us to be. So I'm not saying you're not going to not want a career, or you're not going to want to figure things out. It's just, how do you let him take the next step? Yeah.
So there's so much there to unpack.
I know. I'm so sorry.
But I love that. No, I love that. So let's start with kind of like quick review of masculine and feminine energy in general. Right. You know, masculine energy tends to be, and we all have it. So you have masculine energy in you as a woman, and you have feminine energy. Yeah. And we all tap in, and men do this, have the same thing, right? We all have both. We all have this polarity within us, and then within our relationships, right? So the thing about masculine and feminine energy is you can certainly balance it in yourself as a woman. You just have to be a little bit more aware of when you're tapping into what. So in your job, you need that masculine energy, right? You need to be more assertive. You need to be able to make decisions. You need to be able to take charge of a situation, be in control, know what's going on. That's beautiful. That's amazing. You can exercise your masculine energy in that capacity. Right. In another capacity, when you're a mother, you can exercise more of your feminine, for just as an example, or in a relationship, or in another part of your life. Even with working out, you don't have to go 75 hard, even though it's working for you.
I love it.
Right?
Yeah.
And you love it. There are ways also to reshape your body, take care of yourself that are more feminine than masculine. And so you can tap into these things at different points in your life. Now, masculine energy tends to be more assertive and they are action oriented. And I think this is the big thing that I want people to really take away is that masculine energy is the initiator, and it is the so it's initiating action, whereas feminine energy is more about receiving action and responding to that action, which is what you see when you dance, right? So you let the man lead, particularly in ballroom, and then still stop and don't jump in and try to fix his moves or try to fix things or try to get you guys back on track. You wait for him to get you back on track, right?
Exactly.
It's such a beautiful exercise for you to physically understand how to do that, because you can then later apply that to your life. Right? You can, so if you think about it as a woman, where in your life can you relinquish a little bit of that control, relinquish a little bit of that leading and allow someone else to lead? It doesn't have to be a man. It could be your kid, it could be whatever. Where can you allow someone to do that? And it's not so that you're giving anything up. It's so that you're learning how to receive. You're learning how to receive someone else taking care of something, right? Because that will allow you to allow someone else to take care of you too.
So what about if you don't have that, and you don't have that for an extended period of time, and you're just like in a relationship? I think that's what a lot of conflict, I've seen the comments that are on our show when people are like, oh, it's this a bit of an echo chamber here. You guys, ladies are talking and it's all me too, right? But here's the thing, when you're in it for an extended period of time and you're constantly like, you're noticing that men aren't showing up that way to lead you. And then you're in a long-term relationship and you're not being led. And maybe you're, sleepless nights, you're constantly in your fight or flight. You're like worried about what's going to happen next. You're raising the kids, you're running around. And I know this, I see this a lot with a lot of people that I work with. There's a lot of conflict between men and women simply because both people have a lot on their plate. Right.
And well, both of you are also trying to take on that role.
What's the role though? Like, how do you how do you just become feminine when you're in charge of things?
So you have to take the opportunities when they show up. And I know that sounds like whatever, but it's kind of like with dancing. Occasionally you have to relinquish and allow your partner to make a decision without you, or make the decision and you go along with his decision.
Okay.
And so you can, so a lot of women would be like, oh my gosh, like I cannot relinquish this control, or they become micromanagers. And that's how we become those naggy.
Oh my God, that's me.
Micromanaging people. And there's nothing wrong with that. And why I say that is because you are operating in that moment. You're operating from fear. You're operating from this need, like, oh my gosh, if I don't do it, who's going to do it?
Yeah, but it's like when you clean your kitchen, right?
Yes.
You clean your kitchen and it looks perfect. When they clean the kitchen, you're like, what is happening here?
True.
Right.
But you're allowing them to do something. And yes, you might, and I've said this again, like there are times when you have to let them bumble through something, whether it's your kids, your partner, whoever, even in friendships, even at work. You have to let other people give the opportunity for them to step up.
Right.
You can't always take control and then complain about it later and say, no one's taking care of me. You have not given room for someone to take care of you, or you've not given room for them to learn the skill to the degree that you want them to learn, right? So you clean the kitchen at a 10, they clean it at a 5. What you do is you let them clean it at a 5, and then you gently go in and go, I love that you did this, guys. Thank you so much. Next time, can you guys remember to do X, Y, Z as well?
Right.
And then just keep doing that, right? Pick one thing to kind of work on and then teach them, guide them. But in your feminine, what you would do is you would offer something. I would offer that, like, I want you guys to do this. Can you do this for me, please?
Right.
Right. And then no matter how they react, you just smile and be like, Okay. Like you're going to get it. It's going to get done.
Right.
Right. And so I know like you feel like, and I feel like this too, when my kids were younger, I'd be like, yeah, but I can get it done faster and I can get it done right more efficiently. And we have to be at the next thing.
Right.
It's like when they were little and they wanted to start learning how to dress themselves, I would let them dress themselves. Backward shoes, pants on in a funny way.
Right.
And I would simply celebrate them that they did it on their own. And it used to drive my husband crazy sometimes because he'd be like wanting to step in immediately. He'd be like, you did it wrong. You got to do it this way. And I'd be like, just give them some time, and let them try again. Just say, hey, celebrate what they did, how they did it. And then say, oh, by the way, let's move those shoes on the other foot. And it's the same kind of thing that you can apply to other things. Do it with things that are not super meaningful yet.
But then you have to have a partner who you can say your kitchen, the way that you did it is that is
not to my standard.
You did a great job.
Yes.
I'm going to do the hamburger. You did a great job. However, these are the things that are missing. But I'm really happy that you showed up today.
Yes.
did at least this, right?
And genuinely thank them.
And let's just say they're just like, whatever, you're never happy.
Yes.
You're never happy. I can never really do anything, because that's really where the conflict is that you have to have somebody who's on board with you to allow you to release that, that alpha, that masculinity.
Absolutely.
Like the person has to be ready to be, okay, you know what? I'm here, I'm stepping up, I'm going to do this. I'm going to allow her to just say what she needs to say, and I'm going to be like, okay, right?
Yeah.
But what happens when you don't have a partner who's on board?
Well, of course, like that's, I'm not saying that it's an easy thing.
Right.
But I still say if the partner comes back at you and says like, oh, well, I guess I just can't do anything right. Then you can say, hey, I appreciate that you did it. And I would just like it done this way and done. Don't get into a big argument about it.
Right.
Right. Like just don't go there and say, you know what, we're going to leave that for today. Try again next time. Try it with something else. Try it with small things so that it's more about you getting used to, as a woman, you getting used to allowing people to take care of you or respond to you or support you in some way. Because we just don't allow people to support us. We are so, the amazing thing is about us right now as modern women is we can do it all.
We can. And the independence kind of turns into a negative.
It can be a double-edged sword, for sure.
Right. So
for sure.
sometimes I read this little meme, and it was like, if you run into an independent woman, don't ask her if you need to have anything done.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Just do it.
You know what I mean? Because
I get
she
that.
can do it.
I get that.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's more like just do it.
Right.
Just don't ask. Just do it.
Yeah.
Because their expectation of you is just to be aware that things need to get done because she can do it on her own, technically speaking.
Right.
So that's a catch-22. It's like you want to support, and I want my daughters to be independent women too.
Yes.
At the same time.
Yes.
So when I said what I said about feminine versus masculine, I was talking about people who are in a relationship currently. So it's kind of like stepping away. How do you get that person that to be your dance partner, in other words, to commit to be your partner and to lead you when you've been with them for an extended period of time?
Yeah.
And then how do you, that's my first question.
Yeah.
And my second question is how do you meet somebody new? Like, let's say, for example, a young person watching this right now, a young girl.
So when you're on the dating scene.
In the dating scene, to say, this is what my expectation is. I want you to be my dance partner and I want you to lead me.
Yeah. It's communication.
Yeah.
It always comes down to communication. Truly. At the end of the day, you've been with someone for a long period of time. You guys have your habits. You have your way of being. It's about having that conversation and saying, listen, I've noticed, and you always want to be able to tell people what the action is. I've noticed this. I've noticed that we're always at odds about this particular thing. Like, I really would love for you to figure out with me what is the best way that we can do this, that both of us are going to feel good about, that both of us can meet each other halfway. I'm not talking about people who are like on the edge of divorce. Like, I'm not here to save your marriage, right? I can't say that right now and just have like a 1, 2, 3 step and it's going to fix, right? Everyone's different. That being said, you need to first see if your partner is willing to have that conversation and meet you halfway in terms of like, can you listen to what my actual needs are? Right. My needs are, I'm noticing that I feel, right? So we're fighting about this. I feel like I always have to step in and do this to this level. And I'm just tired. I'm really, really tired. It's not my, like I've sometimes said to my husband, it's not my forte. I'm not necessarily good at this, but I keep jumping in to try to fix it because I don't feel good enough about it the way it gets done.
Right.
How can we do this better? What part of it is, do you feel like you're really good at? And I just want to be able to leave that with you and not even question it. Oh, and like sometimes you have to like pick out those little things, right? So ask your partner, where in this problem do you feel that you're really good and you can take it on and you can look me in the eye and say, babe, I got that part. Like, don't even worry about that part. I will commit to always showing up and XYZ. Like, I'm going to be the one who's going to keep track of our time when we have to go to a party or a social event. Right. Don't even worry about it. I will come in, like, I will take that responsibility. And like anything else, you delineate stuff in your house, right? I'm going to do dishes. I'd like you to, do laundry, whatever it is. Do that in those parts that are like really sticky in your relationship. And you don't have to explain the whole masculine feminine thing. You could if you wanted to, but what you really want to do is you want to let your partner know, hey, I'm feeling overworked, overstretched, over something. There needs to be some parts of our life where I sit back and really relax and allow you to take the lead. I want you to take the lead. Like, build him up, right? Babe, I want you. Like, I think you're the man. I want you to show up and be the man. This is how I feel that I would feel like a woman really being taken care of if you do these 3 things. Can you do those things? Can you do them? And if he's like, of course I can do those things. Will you do them? Are you willing to do that? And can I remind you when I see that it's not being done? Is it okay? And I don't want you to feel like I'm nagging you, but if we both agree that this is your domain and I feel comfortable with you taking it and you feel comfortable taking it, don't get upset with me if I say, hey, babe, this wasn't done.
Give me an example.
So I think a lot of couples fight about money.
Right.
Money's a big, big thing, right? And it's like this, we're both making money. So most of us are 2-income households, right? And so some people are just better at budgeting. Who's good at budgeting? Okay, so if you're better at budgeting as the woman, just you set up the budget. But allow him to agree with the budget and show it to him, right? If he's better at, I don't know, saving or investing or whatever, like pick apart the parts that wherever your zone of genius is or wherever you feel more competent or comfortable with. Right? If you're both not good at something, then you guys got to figure something out. You got to figure out either some way to offset it to someone else who's going to take care of that. Right? A money manager or someone who's, if it's a money thing. And then you both have to kind of revisit it on a regular basis, right? Like maybe every 6 months, every year, you're kind of like, okay, let's give ourselves a little bit of a grade on how we did, right? And just check in with each other. So again, communication, checking in with each other. And it's this whole idea of like, as a woman, you don't need to feel. One of the ways to drop into your feminine is to not always have to feel like you're over-explaining yourself and you need to prove yourself. Right. When you can get to a point where you're really comfortable with yourself and you're not running around trying to prove that you're right or prove that you know everything, that's one step away from that masculine energy of like assertive, I need to be right, which is great. Men do well with that. They do well with really concrete things, with structured things, with things where they're like, okay, here's my checklist, I did it. Women can do very well with that too, but you don't have to. You don't have to do it with everything in your life. Right? And I know like a lot of women are going to be like, well, I'm the one who organizes everything. Great. Organize everything. If you're the organizer, that's totally fine. And most of us are. I organize most of our social stuff. I keep track of the kids' stuff. But I've said to my husband, you can keep your own stuff organized. because I'm now keeping a lot of things organized for myself and 3 other people in our house. There are certain things I want you to just take care of yourself.
So are you able to relinquish these things?
Yeah. I mean, it's not easy because you're going to mess up. There are going to be times when it won't work out. Right. And you'll have these mistakes along the way, but at some point, how else are you going to do it? Right. So you start with things that are not super important, that are not like a big jump, where like if you were someone, for example, who took care of all the finances, and then tomorrow you're like, I'm going to step into my feminine and just let my husband take over. And he's never done it. Like, that's not fair. You're setting both of yourself up for failure.
Oh, of course.
Right?
Yeah.
So give him 1 or 2 bills to be responsible for and pay on time and do the banking on those 2 bills. And then when he's doing it comfortably, be like, hey, can you do a few more? Can you just... I want to be able to like, right? And it's more like you're allowing each person to learn the new skill. Right? So it's really nuanced, I know. But as a woman, so some of the things I wanted to kind of bring up to you were, we talked about like not really feeling like you need to prove anything to anyone. Okay. That's an amazing feminine skill, because don't you find that you're constantly explaining yourself to everyone? Yes. We got to do it this way because of this, that. Why do you need to explain all of that? You can just say, a lot of men just say, hey, we got to do it this way. They don't sit there and explain it all. We don't need to. So as a woman, sit back once in a while and just be like, guys, this is what I'm going to do. Right? It's a way for you to start really tapping into your own divine intuition, your own alignment. Right? And when you're in the moment, when you live in the moment, in the present, and you really drop into, this is what's going to be good for me right now, that's where you can tap into your intuition so much more easily. Your intuition doesn't live in the future when you're like future pacing all the time, and your intuition doesn't live in the past where you're ruminating. It lives right here in the moment. When you are making a choice in your life, right? Don't you notice that the times when you're just like, I'm here, yeah, this feels really, really good, feels right?
I felt that, yeah, when I was there.
You're just like, oh, and it works out. It's the best thing for you. Yes. Women have this incredible access to their intuition that we've kind of cut off by being really in our masculine. So when you kind of tap more into that feminine vibe of receiving, of responding, of being in the moment, there's so much more available to you. And we can do things differently. You can get a lot of shit done as a woman. Don't get me wrong. You just don't have to do it all through masculine ways. It doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be push. It can be, yes, you can organize things, and you can delegate.
I have a question.
Yes.
It's like percolating. I know, it's like, can you see me percolating?
You're just like, I want to ask you.
It's going to be a bit of a curveball.
Okay. Yeah.
So getting into your feminine and relinquishing the masculine, how does this apply to your sex life and like... and like the physical, intimate aspect of it? Because I think when your nervous system is shot and you're just completely stress ball everywhere, you know, your intimacy in your sex life takes a big toll. And you're like, well, how do I get back to, again, relinquishing everything to the male to be able to take control? Well, so it's a big question. I don't know.
That's a lot. That's a lot. So here's a quick tip. Get into your own feminine sensuality.
Right. And how do you do that?
So like physically stretching, dancing, listening to music, moving your hips, doing actual movements with your body to get yourself into your lower chakras, basically. Yeah. So I listen to music when I'm cleaning the house in my ear. So I'm dancing as I'm cleaning instead of scrubbing and being upset, because I hate cleaning. You know me. Clean. Like I'm not.
I got to stop angry cleaning. In other words, I need to put headphones on, you're saying, so and just like
it's got to get done anyways, right? It's got to get done. Do it with some fun, right? So one of the things is like actually getting in touch with your body from a feminine perspective. So it's like, how can I... And again, this is going to sound so cliche, but for women, things like hot baths and saunas and soaks and taking care of your skin. I mean, it seems like such a silly thing, but like literally taking care of your skin and doing some of those feminine self-care activities, doing your hair, like it actually works.
It does. It makes you feel so much better. Mm-hmm. It does actually take you out of the masculine when you do get dolled up and you feel like you're going out and you're wearing, certain outfits. Like it does make you feel like there's, of course, a lot of people who would be like, oh, it doesn't matter. Yeah, of course it does. I mean,
I think
probably
it
because
really
you haven't done
help.
it. Yeah. And you need to maybe do it. And then you'll be like, oh, okay. Yes, there is that feminine energy.
Again, treat yourself to something nice.
Right.
Whether it's going out to like a local Starbucks and getting like a divine drink for yourself. And even if you have to do work on your laptop, go do it there. Sip on a really nice drink and like get into this mode of like, I get to take care of myself.
Right.
And like, I deserve to be taken care of. And I deserve to be like, romance yourself.
So do you have this conversation with the male, like in your life? And
say, and then
listen, you need to take control.
Not necessarily, not necessarily. So when you treat yourself a certain way, you show up with a different energy.
Right.
Right. So you show up and you're just like, people can tell where you're at. People can tell that you're in your soft mode. You speak differently. You act differently. Right. You have that light touch with your husband instead of that hard touch. You notice the difference? Like you can feel the difference even as I'm talking about it. Right. You can imagine what it's like to walk home and be like, why isn't shit done in this house?
Yeah.
Versus walking home and you're just like in your own, like, oh, I had such a great day today. I love myself. Like you're just all about yourself.
Right.
But it'll spill over into how you treat him and into how you interact with him. And so when he starts to notice, and this may not happen on the first try, obviously, but you want to be able to kind of cultivate that self-love, self-care for yourself so that you're in a good mood. Like,
because the happiness doesn't come from him.
Right.
It comes from within you.
Yes.
And it translates into external happiness, like in the sense of you're giving that happiness to somebody else.
Absolutely.
Or they're seeing it and then they're reciprocating in one way or form, right?
Right, right. And like, so again, sex and intimacy is all about, as a woman, if you really, really want your man to take more of a lead, you got to give him the space to do it. Right. So set the mood if you want that. Wear beautiful, lingerie, treat yourself. Be in the energy of like, I am beautiful and I love where I'm at and I take care of myself so that other people will kind of be inspired to want to take care of you as well.
Right.
Right. It's very subtle and it's something that you can practice. And it's a way that women, we have amazing magnetism. Right. When people talk about manifesting, they're like, magnetize things towards you.
Right.
Women have magnetism.
Right.
Use it.
Yes,
Learn how to cultivate that magnetism. Magnetism is actually associated with your emotions. So when you get your emotions in a beautiful high vibe and loving and caring and open and loose, then you give off a completely different vibe to the people around you and they respond to you differently.
Yes. 100%.
Your kids will respond differently. Your husband will respond differently. Your friends will respond differently because you're just showing up differently.
Yeah.
So again, it starts totally with you. Starts with cultivating all of that in yourself, and then I mean, guys will. If your husband is attracted to you, he will immediately see that you're looking good. You're taking care of yourself. You know what I mean, and he'll be attracted to that.
Yes.
He may not, from a psychological perspective, be like, ooh, she's doing this. And he'll just be like, my wife looks hot today. Okay. Yeah. Right? Like it's pretty easy. And you just show up and allow a man to kind of step in and
what about if he doesn't?
Ooh, that's a tricky one. Well, then there's something else going on in your relationship maybe.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Or maybe he's going through something himself and he's just so tunnel vision that he's not noticing. Right. So that's something to bring up and be like, hey, and not from the perspective of like, I'm doing all of this. Why are you not noticing me?
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Like, here's my checklist.
Right. I showed up in saran wrap yesterday. How did you not notice me? Right. Whatever. Right.
I walked outside naked. You didn't say anything.
Yeah. How did you not notice that?
How did you not notice?
So you don't do that. You just be like, hey, babe, like, is something up with you?
Yeah.
Like I noticed that you seem to be really focused on, like, is something going on at work? Like what's happening? it's always about them, right? You want to invite the other person to open up to you.
Right.
And we want men to be vulnerable with us. We want our partners to be able to tell us what's going on. And there's something going on with him. It has nothing to do with you. Right. So again, like as a woman, you don't want to try and take on everything and take everything personally and say, this is, he's doing this, so it's got to be something that I need to fix or do. Ask and work on yourself.
Right.
Right. Allow yourself to like be your own husband for a while. Like be romantic with yourself. Treat yourself the way you would want to be treated. And then hopefully that allows him to kind of step in as well.
Right. Makes sense.
Yeah. I know it's easier said than done. I know that.
It is. Like when you're in the dating scene and let's say you've been through a relationship for X amount of years, which happens to be a friend of mine. Yeah. The friend that I was away with. So, there's kind of a checklist that she has, or prerequisites of being in her feminine in her next relationship. Like she just felt like she was very much in her masculine, had to always hustle, grind, was constantly, scared and nervous and in a fear of flight or flight. State. So she has a prerequisite list of everything that her expectations are of a man moving forward, right?
Good
and
for
one
her.
of them is being in the feminine and being able to have a man take control and lead and have like certain, he has got to have a certain job status and he's got to have like, his head together, meaning that she doesn't have to come in and save the day financially.
Okay.
In terms of intimacy, like, having control. Even in the bedroom is allowing him to just completely have control. Where it's almost like she does the lingerie. She shows up. I'm in her feminine and her beauty,
and he just takes control.
Yeah,
beautiful. I mean, if that's what she wants,
right,
more power to her.
Right.
And I'm not saying that every single woman is going to have to do it to that degree.
Way. Yeah.
Some women, only feel comfortable. And I would question that. If you only ever feel comfortable when you're in full control, there is something maybe to look at there, right? Because you might be operating from this fight or flight all the time and not even realize it.
Right, yeah.
Right? Because if you have to have control over everything, that's a sign that that you're not able to let go sometimes. Are you not able to relax? Are you not able to, right? Where in your life are you able to even do that?
Right.
Where you're allowed, you would allow someone else to take, if it's just getting your nails done and the lady has to do your nails and you're like, I can let that happen.
Yeah.
Then find somewhere else in your life where you can allow that little bit of relinquishing of control and power, and I need to do it all and I need to fix it all.
Yeah.
Because that's going to keep you in a really hard state.
Right.
And as women, we're not really built to be there all the time. It's going to keep your cortisol levels really, really high.
Yes.
And it's going to make you sick. Right?
I agree.
Mean, there's a biological underpinning to this, but it does affect us in a different way. Men do have a little bit of a higher threshold for managing that cortisol in their system. They again, from a male perspective, their hormone levels are different than us. They, their body systems are built differently than ours. And it translates to stress. It translates to a lot of other things.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Makes sense.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's
So I released some cortisol in those 3 or 4 days.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you feel? I was less stressed. I wasn't really, I was dealing with phone calls, but it wasn't anything big. Yeah. And I was just able to
truly unwind.
Truly be in my calm, feminine state. It was great. So I recommend girls retreats, or just hanging out with your friends. Just have more girlfriends around, have more female energy around, and do something that moves you.
Yes.
75 hard is a little crazy. I know it's like, workout in the morning and the evening. It's not forever. But I find that with the dancing, it's just been amazing.
Right.
Amazing.
Yeah.
How I feel.
I think it's so beautiful. I always recommend dancing to my female clients.
Yeah.
Especially if they're like really A-type, boss babe type of that boss babe era is just, it's so funny. Like I love that we have that. And I also kind of, rue the day when we all wanted to be boss babes, because it's not for everyone.
It's not.
It doesn't, for me, doesn't feel fully in tune with your feminine. Obviously, it's great. It's great if you can do it. If you can balance it a bit better, then all the more power to you. I just don't. For me now, as I'm getting older, I feel like feminine wisdom is something very different than trying to gain knowledge and trying to push your way through life. That wisdom is really setting in, and I think it's really important for us as women to be able to have access to both.
Yeah.
Because if you choose to, do something different with your life and you don't want to go that boss babe route, gosh, there's so much else available to you as well.
Yeah.
As well. And I think it's a beautiful thing if we can tune into that as much as we can.
Yeah.
Yeah. As a wife and a mother, like it's really helped me a lot.
Oh, yeah.
So girl, more dancing. Dancing is great.
Yes. You're going to join me, hopefully.
I will.
Yes.
I will. I love salsa as well. So this will be a good one. Thanks so much for joining us today, guys. We will see you next time on the show.